Three, two, one. Welcome back to another episode of AT Talks. This is episode 5. Actually, I lied. This is topic 5, episode 3. Topic 5 is Undervalued Skills. We have Brittany back with Chap, and we have a brand newcomer. We have Chad. If you could quickly introduce yourself to the AT Twitterverse, to say something about you.
I'll start first since I've done this one before. My name is Brittany Backoffen. I'm the athletic trainer at Chaparral High School in Las Vegas, Nevada. I am the Nevada representative for AT's Care and the secretary for the Nevada Athletic Trainers Association.
Awesome. And this is my first time here, so I appreciate Thomas having me on. My name is Chad Gabbard. I work at St. Vincent Sports Performance here in Indianapolis, and I am our outreach manager, and I'm also in charge of our event medical management team. I've been working at St. Vincent for 16 years and being certified for 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Since you have all those years of experience, what do you think is an undervalued skill in athletic training?
I think, especially probably when I started athletic training, my program was an internship program at Butler University, and had an awesome opportunity to work with Ralph Reef and get to do a lot of stuff because we didn't have a lot of certified athletic trainers at the time. Definitely, I think one of undervalue is just communication styles and who you have to communicate on a daily basis. Thomas, I love watching you on Twitter because I know I try to tell the young professionals that's coming up, make sure when you're at your school, you know everybody. That includes your janitor, that includes the school nurse, that includes the people that take care of your fields. Because if you have those people on your side and you value and appreciate what they do, they're always going to be looking out for you. And I think sometimes, and it's hard, I think, when we're in school to, for people to get educated on that. That's a nuance that I think you have to pick up when you get out into the profession. But I remember my first job at Fenwick High School was a Catholic boys and girls high school. And we had about 30 sports and it was just me. Man, I became so good friends with our janitor, and he was the best guy because I could just go to him and ask him questions because I didn't really know a lot about the school. And him and I became best friends and looked out for each other. And I think that's a thing that I've really taken with me, and I try to educate at least our new staff that we employ at our place to make sure that you're getting friendly and you understand all those people at your school that make your school run besides the main people that everybody see.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing that I definitely wanted to make sure that that I brought up is one half of that communication part. And I think that's the listening part of it, right? When your patients are talking to you, are you already prepared for an answer before they even are explaining things or how they're feeling or what happens? Like, I think that and that's one thing I try and, get my students to do. What is the patient telling you? What are their goals? What are the things that bother them the most? If you can listen to what their needs are, then it makes your job so much easier. And I think going on the other aspect of that too, like the administration side of it, your custodial side of it, I try and be as nice to my custodians as possible. And, even if, because they're essentially kind of working by themselves, and at least at the high school level, in different areas. And, sometimes they just need to vent about their day. Like, oh man, like, I had to, unclog like all the toilets in the boys' bathrooms, and, they'll sit here and they'll rant for, you can sit there hours and hours and hours and rant about their day. And, a lot of times they just need somebody to listen, and they just need somebody to kind of, unload kind of what's been going on in their mind for so long. I think that it's such a valuable skill as an athletic trainer, and just as a professional in general. Yeah, I'm going with listening skills.
Yeah, I often say on Twitter that my job is 10% medical and 90% everything else. Because a lot of the times the kids don't need me for medical things. They need me for life things.
Absolutely.
They need a parent, they need a leader, they need a mentor, they need someone to tell them right and wrong.
Right.
Then on the listening side, listening is huge because we all have our own vision on what it means to be good at your job, but we
Right.
have to understand what our stakeholders think is us being good at our jobs. Because you can think you're doing great all day long, and then you go talk to an athletic director or maybe a hospital admin or a clinic admin, and they go, well, you are doing these things well, but I would like you to do A, B, and C. And you're like, oh, I never even thought from it from that perspective. So it's huge to listen.
I think that's both your points there. I think also is it's always amazing to me that sometimes we might be our athletes' only person they trust, which I know for me and our staff, we try to talk about, I love to win and, winning's great, but our job is to be a healthcare provider. And sometimes that's looking out for the well-being of our kids. And because sometimes we're the only ones doing it, even some of their parents won't look out for their well-being. But
Yeah.
I think to Brittany's point, I love being able to actually, when you're talking to someone, looking at them in the face, listening and not talking over them and waiting for them to finish. And 9 times out of 10, that kid or parent or someone says, holy cow, I can't believe Brittany just sat there, listened to me, and I had diarrhea of the mouth, but I let it all come out. And Brittany said, hey, now we're going to get this better. Here's what we're going to do. I appreciate you being honest and open. And now here's how we move forward. Because a lot of those kids, nobody ever does that for them, which is sad. And I think good athletic trainers, to your point, Brittany, we have to be good listeners because that's how we start the process of everything that we're doing.
Absolutely. And it's not just the patients too. I always do this exercise with my athletic training students, especially in the fall, because we always travel to games with football. And usually our soccer team does pretty well, so they end up going to the playoffs. So we'll end up traveling with them. But I always tell my students to watch how the coaches interact with the athletes, and to see that dynamic between the two, right? You can kind of tell how a game is going to go and how things are going to unfold based on how the coaches interact with the players. And, it's really interesting to kind of see that team dynamic on different levels and with different teams. And I 100% that communication and the listening part of it, both sides, is so important, especially in the heat of a moment of a game, right? Like somebody gets an interception, somebody misses like a big save, watching coaches model how they interact with their students and seeing how we kind of fit into that is so important. I think, if you're talking about undervaluing skills, I think just in general, it's essentially anything you can't put on a resume, right? You can get, you can have all these jobs and all these things, but, and when it comes down to it, it's all about you in the clinic and, what you decide to do on any given day, how you decide to interact with people. And that's stuff you can't put on a resume, and only things that you can learn about somebody, in an interview. So I think my blanket one is, anything you can't put on your resume.
I think too, Thomas, one too is, at least I do this all the time, which I love hiring new grads because I know they're way smarter than me. But is telling the athlete, there's going to be times you're going to probably have to say something to me, and I'm going to tell you, I don't know the answer. And I think being honest and open with the athletes that sometimes we don't know, but we're going to find the person that can help us get to that answer. I think you get the trust of that athlete and that parent and that coach quicker than, well, I'm just going to say some fancy words here and make some really big words to make them think I know what I'm talking about. Because I remember when I was a student athletic trainer, at Butler. And like I said, we got to do a lot of stuff. And I was traveling with our baseball team, and there'd be times you'd sit in a hotel and you're like, I think this is what it is, but I don't know. And I've got my hop and fell book out and I'm looking through all this stuff. And I'm like, all right, when we get to the field, we're going to go over to the certified on the other side, and I'm going to have them help me because this one's stumping me. I just haven't had that experience. And I think that has taught me a lot of being open and honest in those situations where, hey, I don't know this, but I'm going to find somebody that does, and they're going to help me find out your problem and then help me, guide me to get you better on the field.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's really important for young professionals to understand that there's a lot of stuff we don't know. And with 5-10 years of experience, there's going to still be a lot of stuff we don't know. And I don't know if we're just young and we feel like we have everything to prove, or we don't want to come off as if we don't know.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I know everything, so hire me, please. I need a job. Compared to like, yeah, I'm not always right, and I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm going to grow. I think growth is undervalued. A lot of people get in their comfort zones. And,
Absolutely.
I've been doing it like this for X amount of time, and it feels good. It's getting easier. I'm getting comfortable. And then you get challenged, and you're like, I don't want to be challenged. I don't want to grow. I think some people feel like that.
That's the best part about having athletic training students is like, you can catch yourself sometimes getting in that routine, and they say, why'd you do that? And I'm like, I don't know. I've been doing it for a while, and it seems to work out pretty well so far for me. And that's just kind of how it's done. This is why I think it's happening, but not 100% sure. And I always tell them, like, this is if you're interested in research, that's a great thing. You can research for us and maybe give us a little bit more information.
I think that's both your points, because I know, holy cow, every day, the place that I work at, we have some really, really talented people that I probably bug too much, because I'm always trying to pick their brains and say, okay, I know you're doing this hip evaluation. Why are you looking at that? I would have never thought of that. Tell me your reasoning. And the thing I love about our profession is every athletic trainer that I've ever come across, I've never had one person say, hey, I can't tell you that, it's my secret. Or right. I think we're all sharing individuals because we all understand what we're trying to do and trying to accomplish. So I always love to interact, like talking with you two and interacting with other athletic trainers is always a great thing for me, because it makes me better at what I do, because I get to listen and hear your experiences. And now I have some resources that I can reach out to. And heck, man, we always travel, right? And there's places I'm like, ooh, I know Brittany's in Vegas. I'm going to reach out to her and I'm going to come watch her do what she does, or come up and watch Thomas, what he does up in the northern part of the state. So it's always fun to have connections to make me better at what I do.
Absolutely. I'm going to go on the opposite part of that. I think another valuable tool that a lot of athletic trainers talk about, especially in the high school setting, is the ability to tell somebody no. If you are like, hey, it's Saturday, I know that, you don't want to come in, but, our team is practicing. We just found out we were going to do it, a couple hours ago, can you come in? I'm like, no, Sunday is my day off. I need to recover mentally, physically, I need to see people who are not work people. I need to get out of my work environment. I think that ability to say no, especially at the high school level, is becoming more and more important to manage that work-life balance for us.
Totally agree with that. I know, like my job of overseeing our staff and things like that, that's one thing that, especially Thomas, I know you this in Indiana now, is, the sports are pretty much full go 12 months out of the year. There's no, well, football season goes, football gets over, and then we don't see them until next July. That's not the case anymore. And finding that balance of, it's okay to say no. And especially on those occasions when, to Brittany's point, hey man, we just figured out we're going to practice today. Well, sorry, I've made these plans and I've had this stuff. And you know what the great thing is? Everybody knows the EAP. If something happens, you can always call 911.
Yep. Lack of preparation on their part does not constitute an emergency on ours.
Amen, sister, to that.
All right. So if you're listening to Chad, he gave 3 great pieces of information. And he started with networking, know your people at your school. And then he went with networking, know the athletic trainers around you so you can build something. If you have questions, you can go to them and you can talk to them. And then the last thing he just said, which I can't think of right now, but I heard it, we just say no. It's okay to say no, guys. That's cool. That's great.
You know.
And everyone knows the EAP because you've worked with those individuals. You put that time down. You've practiced. You've rehearsed it. You have it written down. It's like just basic things, but they add up to be so much greater than basic.
Right.
So exactly.
I think that's all great. Is there anything else you guys want to add? Any other things pop up in your head?
If we do, I'll let you know on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm always available on Twitter. Well, I appreciate the 2 of you coming out, and I hope this was fun for you, Chad and Brittany. Thanks for coming.
Oh my gosh, I would
Always
love
fun.
to do this again, and I appreciate you guys taking, as we just talked about, taking a part of your Sunday to do this. I really appreciate it, and I value, what you guys do. And Thomas, I really appreciate this because it's nice to see and get a listen to other athletic trainers that I can pull from and things like that. So I appreciate you doing this. And Brittany, good luck out in Vegas, and keep pushing warm weather towards us in Indiana, please.
I'll try my best.
The warm weather, it's coming. It'll be here soon. It'll be here soon. Hey, if you have any other friends, colleagues that have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years of experience and would like to do this, please let them know, because the majority of individuals on here are young professionals with 5 years or less experience.
Yeah.
It's very hard to get the opinions of those who are seasoned or veterans. And,
well, I love this because I don't have all the answers, but I can tell you what I've done in my career, and I like to listen to you guys because, like I said, you guys re-energize me and recharge my batteries, which that's always a good thing for me too.
Absolutely, 100%.
all right, well, you two have a great rest of your Sunday and have a good week. We just finished all of our sports. Men's basketball's over for us. We lost. So we're transitioning into track and field and softball and baseball. So I get a few weeks downtime.
It's that bittersweet, like you really hope your team wins because you love your guys and you love your coaches, and then they lose and darn.
I get a Saturday off now. Ooh.
Right. No, Saturday's off. What do I do with myself?
All right, well, have a great rest of your weekend.
Have a good weekend, guys.
You too, guys. Take
Bye.
care.